Even if someone seems like they're passing you at blazing speed, doesn't mean you should ruin your pace trying to catch up to them just because you see what they're doing. Yo! So second year is finally over, and I guess it's time to talk about second year in general, whether that pertains to extracurriculars, course ratings, GPA grades, and whatever. Let's talk about it. Now, I know I kind of made this year out to be kind of bad because it was online and all, but I think in general, it was actually not as bad as I thought. I was just complaining a bit too much. But that's not the purpose of this video. This time I'll try to give you a kind of objective look at how I did this year. And that's not to say that I'm better than anyone or anything, because I think the purpose of this video is to kind of open the floor for discussion and for you guys to ask whatever questions you might have about second year and going to third year. So yeah, and also there's this manga panel that I read recently, and basically this is the mindset I want you guys to have, because as young people on their career paths, it's quite easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others. And it basically says that even if someone is passing you at a very fast speed, that you shouldn't ruin your pace just because you are caught up in what they're doing. And I really wanted to share this panel because I thought it was very touching. And before I begin the video, make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, let's begin. So let's get on to extracurriculars. And for this year, I basically did nothing. And I don't feel that bad about it anymore because it wasn't a smart thing for me to cram a bunch of extracurriculars in there when I wasn't really that comfortable with what I was doing in my coursework this year anyway. So I think it was best that I didn't do that much. The only thing that I did do was volunteer at the local hospital for like the first semester, and then I kind of stopped the second semester because I didn't do super well in my first term in terms of grades. And I don't know if this YouTube channel counts, but if it does, then that is what I did as well. But I don't know how much these videos are actually helping you guys, so yeah, I don't know how much that counts. Anyway, in terms of extracurriculars, I did a little bit, but it's not as crazy as all those people doing all those research positions and just all those club positions and stuff. So I'm not doing the best, but I'm not doing the worst. But it's how I'm doing. It's good enough for me. Anyway, let's get on to course ratings. I'll do them as fast as I can because I know most of you here are here for the grades. You'll see the course codes, so I don't really have to describe much. But this year I took anatomy, methods, genetics, organic chemistry, classics, pharmacology, physiology, and statistics. And let's rate them in order. So anatomy, I'd say that's a C tier because I didn't find it super interesting and there was a lot to memorize. But otherwise, it was actually an okay course. The beginning lectures were kind of boring, but at the end, when they switched professors, I'm not going to mention any names, I thought they were a bit more engaging in terms of the way they taught. And for methods, I'm going to give that a D because some units were actually quite interesting. For some reason, I enjoyed the writing one that everyone seemed to hate, but I thought that was the best one. Don't roast me for that. But the exam was actually pretty difficult, and I don't know, it wasn't the course that I enjoyed the most, that's all I can say. There was some group work that I did enjoy, but overall, I just didn't really enjoy the course that much. For genetics, I'll give that a B, because although it was difficult, it was kind of interesting in the end. Organic chemistry, I'll also give that a B, because of the same reasons as genetics, except I thought that it was a bit easier. Classics, I'll give that an A because it was a breath of fresh air compared to the other courses I've been taking all semester, because I've been taking all science-heavy courses, and having a humanities course in the middle of that is actually quite interesting. Humanities courses are quite underrated in that aspect, and just learning about the things that the Romans and Greeks did for sport, and how ridiculous some of it was actually kind of interesting. Pharmacology, I'll give that a B because it was pretty easy, and it was kind of interesting and applicable knowledge because, well, everybody uses drugs sometime in their life. I'm talking about pharmaceutical drugs, not the other street drugs or stuff. And human physiology, I'll give that a C because it was not very difficult, but it was not super interesting because I feel like I've learned that a dozen times already. And for stats, I'll give that, I don't know, a D or an F, the lowest one possible, because it was just difficult for me. It was mostly my fault that I didn't do as well, but that's just how it is. And now we're moving on to the grades. So this year, going from top to bottom, again, we have anatomy with an 85, methods with an 86, genetics with an 85, chemistry with 87, classics with a 92, pharmacology with a 95, physiology with a 93, and stats with a 78. By far the worst for stats, but honestly, I don't really mind. It's not the worst thing in the world. And that gives an average GPA for this year of 3.89, which is actually not that far off from last year's GPA, which was 3.91. And this year's average is 88.6%, while last year's was 90.8%. So it's not down by that much year over year, and I'm not very upset with it at all. I actually think I did better than I expected, and a lot better than my parents expected too, because they were like, hey, are you really studying that much this year? I'm like, nah, I'm not, because I'm not feeling it. But I did do better than I thought, so that's more than enough for me. Anyway, I feel like this video has been kind of mumbo jumbo and I'm not really saying much. So please leave me questions down below that I can answer in the next video, because I want to make something that's more suitable or wanted by the audience, if you know what I mean. Anyway, that leaves my current university average as an 89.7% and the GPA is 3.9 as an average, which is pretty good, I'd say. Actually, it's really good. What am I talking about? But of course, coming from high school, I thought, oh yeah, I'm just gonna get the best grades ever. But, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you don't feel like working and stuff. And it's a commitment to actually study a lot every day. So in that aspect, I've not been the best, but I'm satisfied. And I hope you guys are satisfied with your work this year as well. But if you're not, then I know you do your best next year. And don't be that hard on yourself. As I said, even if someone seems like they're passing you at blazing speed, doesn't mean you should ruin your pace trying to catch up to them just because you see what they're doing, Just because people want to get to med school within 3 years doesn't mean you should. Or 4 years. Sometimes it will take more, Anyway, this average is not very relevant because the average that is relevant to move on to third year in the program is the average for required second year courses. And that average is 85.0%, which honestly doesn't seem that bad, but in terms of moving on to the module that I wanted to pick previously, I don't think the average is nearly enough, sadly. But I don't know about this year. Honestly, I didn't try the hardest for these courses and I wish I did, but it is what it is. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I hope you got something out of it, a new perspective, probably from the manga panel. That's probably the most important part of this video, to be honest with you. That you shouldn't really be caught up in what other people are doing, just focus on what you're doing. And that will probably make you feel a little bit better about your day-to-day life because you're not so busy just comparing yourself to other people. That's all. And yeah, I didn't do many extracurriculars this year. My grades were okay. The GPA is okay, but in terms of required averages for next year, it could be better, but I'm satisfied because you at least made it out of this year alive. So yeah, this summer, just take a break, mental break, do whatever you need to do for next year. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button and hit subscribe with post notifications on so you can see more videos like this. And yeah, that's about it. See ya.